Imagine a world at the top of our planet, a vast white kingdom of ice and snow, the Arctic. For thousands of years this frozen ocean has reflected the sun's heat, keeping Earth cool. It's home to incredible animals like polar bears and narwhals, and to indigenous communities whose lives are woven into the ice. But this ancient world is changing fast. The ice is melting. Not over centuries but within our lifetimes. Why should we care? The Arctic acts as our planet's air conditioner. Its ice reflects sunlight, but as it disappears, dark ocean water absorbs heat, creating a dangerous feedback loop. This extra heat disrupts weather patterns worldwide, fueling extreme storms, droughts, and heat waves. The melting Arctic isn't just a polar story, it's a global one. For wildlife, the consequences are dire. Polar bears lose their hunting grounds, walruses crowd onto land, and the entire food web is threatened. Indigenous peoples face a crisis of culture and survival as the ice becomes unpredictable and dangerous. Coastal villages lose their protective barrier, facing erosion and powerful storms. The Arctic's fate is tied to ours in ways we're only beginning to understand. The story of the melting Arctic is a warning sign for the health of our planet. The changes are not just numbers, they're real, urgent, and unfolding now. The Arctic struggle is a call for global attention and action. What happens in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic, its future and ours hangs in the balance. When scientists talk about the Arctic meltdown, they use the term sea ice extent. It's simple. Sea ice extent is the area where at least 15% of the ocean is covered by ice, measured by satellites. This measurement is like taking the Arctic's pulse, showing how the ice grows in winter and shrinks in summer. September is crucial. It's when the ice reaches its lowest point, the sea ice minimum. Think of it like a bank account. Winter adds ice, summer melts it, and September shows the balance left. Since 1979, satellites have tracked this minimum, revealing a dramatic decline. Each year, the September minimum gets smaller, showing the Arctic's bank account is running out. The September data is a critical health check for the Arctic and a key climate indicator. While the ice still grows back each winter, less survives each summer. The long-term trend is clear. The Arctic is losing ice at an alarming rate. This isn't just a seasonal cycle, it's a sign of rapid human-driven change. The story told by September's numbers is one of the most urgent climate warnings of our time. Sea ice extent connects the Arctic's fate to the rest of the world. Understanding it is the first step to understanding why the Arctic matters. Let's go back to 1979, when satellites began tracking Arctic sea ice. Back then, September ice covered about 7 million square kilometers, almost the size of Australia. Much of it was thick, multi-year ice, resilient to summer melts. From 1979 to the late 1990s, the ice shrank slowly and steadily, a few percent per decade. The trend was downward, but the Arctic still seemed robust, with most years above 6 million square kilometers. Multi-year ice acted as a fortress, helping the pack resist collapse. Even after warm summers, the system bounced back. But as the new millennium began, the pace of decline quickened. 2002 set a new record low, and 2005 broke it again. The slow leak was turning into a hiss, the rate of decline was accelerating. The early 2000s saw noticeably less ice than the 1980s. The steady downward slope was becoming steeper. This period set the stage for a dramatic shift. The Arctic was sending clear signals that something was wrong. The biggest shock was yet to come. In 2007, everything changed. The September sea ice extent plummeted to just 4.3 million square kilometers, a record-shattering low. Scientists were stunned. The loss was so extreme it looked like a data error, but it was real. A perfect storm of clear skies, warm air, and persistent winds hit an already weakened system. Decades of slow melting had replaced thick, resilient ice with thin, vulnerable seasonal ice. The fortress was gone and the walls came tumbling down. 2007 was a wake-up call, moving Arctic sea ice loss from scientific journals to front-page news. The ice extent was 39% below the long-term average. An area the size of Texas and California vanished in a single summer. The world wondered, was this a fluke or a new era? The years after 2007 never returned to previous levels. The Arctic had fallen to a new, lower normal. 2007 didn't just set a record, it marked a permanent shift. The Arctic's new reality, far less ice, far more open water. Then came 2012, a cataclysm for Arctic ice. A powerful August cyclone churned the weakened ice, breaking it up and accelerating the melt. By mid-September, sea ice extent dropped to a stunning 3.4 million square kilometers, nearly a million below the 2007 record. In just decades, the Arctic lost half its September ice cover. Maps showed open ocean where thick ice once dominated. The Northwest Passage and Northern Sea Route were wide open. 2012 highlighted how vulnerable the new thin ice was to extreme weather. A similar storm in the 1980s wouldn't have had the same effect. The Arctic was now dominated by fragile first-year ice. The 2012 record was a stark demonstration of a new climate regime. Thin ice, sensitive to weather, primed for rapid melt. Projections for an ice-free Arctic summer, once distant, suddenly seemed possible within decades. 2012 was a sobering reminder. Arctic change is not a future problem, it's happening now. The world watched as the Arctic system transformed before our eyes. The message was clear: the Arctic's stability is gone. After the record lows of 2007 and 2012, the Arctic's story became more complex. The rapid decline slowed, but the ice never recovered to pre-2007 levels. The September sea ice graph became a bumpy plateau, still far below the long-term average. Some years, like 2020, came close to the 2012 record. Others saw slightly more ice, but only compared to the new lows. The average extent from 2013 to 2025 remains within this diminished, new normal. The Arctic is no longer collapsing rapidly, but it's fragile. Thick, multi-year ice is dangerously scarce. Scientists call this a hiatus in the rate of loss, but the drivers of melt remain. The Arctic is still warming twice as fast as the rest of the planet. Thin, seasonal ice dominates, quick to melt each summer. This slowdown may be temporary, a pause before the next rapid decline. The underlying physics are clear: as long as global temperatures rise, Arctic ice will keep disappearing. The last 19 years have all seen lower September extents than any year before 2007. The Arctic is stuck in a broken state, waiting for the next dramatic step down. The disappearance of Arctic sea ice sends shockwaves across the globe. For wildlife, the impacts are devastating. Polar bears face starvation, walruses crowd dangerously on land, and the entire food web is disrupted. Ice algae, the foundation of the marine ecosystem, vanish as the ice retreats, affecting everything from tiny crustaceans to whales. For indigenous peoples, the melting ice is an existential threat. Travel and hunting become dangerous, and coastal erosion forces communities to relocate. This is not just environmental change, it's a cultural and social crisis. The loss of the Arctic's reflective shield accelerates global warming through the albedo effect. Extra heat in the Arctic disrupts the jet stream, fueling extreme weather worldwide: heat waves, severe winters, and floods. New shipping routes bring risks of oil spills and pollution to this fragile region. The fate of the Arctic is linked to the stability of our entire planet. What happens in the Arctic affects us all, no matter where we live. The Arctic story is a warning and a call to action. Its loss is not isolated, it's a global emergency. Protecting the Arctic means protecting our future. The time to act is now. The future of Arctic sea ice is still being written. Scientists agree the Arctic is heading toward a seasonally ice-free state, open water in late summer, ice returning in winter. When? It depends on our emissions. High emissions could bring the first ice-free September as soon as the 2030s or 2040s. This once unthinkable scenario is now a real possibility within our lifetimes. The transition will likely be abrupt, with sudden drops like those in 2007 and 2012. A seasonally ice-free Arctic would be a tipping point, locking in accelerated warming and disrupting global weather. The Greenland ice sheet would melt faster, raising sea levels worldwide. Arctic ecosystems would face catastrophe. Polar bears and ice-dependent seals could vanish. But this future isn't inevitable. Rapid, drastic cuts in greenhouse gas emissions can slow the warming and preserve remaining ice. Every ton of carbon avoided helps protect the Arctic. The solution: clean energy, efficiency, and protecting forests. The fate of the Arctic is in our hands. The Arctic's melting ice is a powerful, urgent signal. Our planet is changing. The Arctic is not a distant wasteland, it's a vital part of our global home and a sensitive indicator of planetary health. The melting ice reflects our actions, but change begins with awareness. By learning the Arctic story, you've taken the first step. Share this knowledge. When we all understand what's at stake, we can demand action. Our choices, how we travel, what we eat, how we use energy, ripple all the way to the North Pole. Reducing our carbon footprint, supporting renewables, and advocating for climate policies matter. Every small effort, multiplied by millions, creates real change. The future of the Arctic isn't set in stone. The ice can return if we give it a chance by cooling the planet. The challenge is immense, but so is our capacity for innovation and compassion. Let the Arctic story be a call to action, not an obituary. Together, we can build a future where both humanity and the ice kingdom of the North can thrive.